ULTI.TV.
Welcome back to ULTI.TV's coverage of UKU Nationals here at the Highfield Sports Complex in Nottingham. Lovely summery afternoon, a little bit of cloud cover, bit of a breeze blowing in. Benji Rees alongside Harry Mason, bringing you action from the women's division, our first women's division action of the day. And we've got SCRAM from Scotland up against London Masters Ultimate. Joining the game in progress, the current score is 1-1. Harry, what are your early impressions of the game?
I mean, I came expecting some incredibly high-quality Ultimate. I was really keen to see this. LMU have been doing some fantastic things in the Cup. SCRAM have started a bit late due to Scotland rules, but are coming into their peak now. So I really want to see it.
That's always the plan, isn't it? Peaking at Nationals as Haig looks underneath, and she's found Sharman. Little reset off. You know that they're happy to take those dumps when they're available. Keep the disc moving quickly, playing good fundamental Ultimate. Little down the line there. Ooh. There's going to be called not in the end zone just yet, so obviously still had that ground contact when she made the catch. So, but on the doorstep, on the precipice now, looking towards the end zone. Still count rising, hammer towards the backside, and it is snagged out of the sky. And that, well, spicy.
Yeah. It was Maietta to Huang on that pass up the line. Huang with a big layout bid. Her number's already come off, which we love to see the innovation by the LMU people over there. But on the line, stall count's getting high. What do? You look for a hammer across.
That is the advantage of stacking up nice and tight in the end zone, is that you've got a very large break space to hit, and more than ever before, teams are happy to utilise those overheads to hit that break space, and especially throwers as experienced as LMU are, you expect them to take that option often. They've all probably been playing at least 10 years, which is very surprising given that apparently the majority of their roster is 21.
Yeah, it was one of our questions on the sheet we asked for. Some people declined to fill it in, but LMU very confident. And, you know, for these young rookies out here today, we love to see it.
Yeah, something leads me to believe that they may not have been entirely truthful in that. It would be a very strange Masters team with no one of Masters age. But you know what? Doesn't matter. On we go. It's also very, very strange that despite not actually having numbers on their shirts, they somehow have the most legible numbers in the competition. When they stay on the kit, obviously, which is an important distinction to make. Going to have SCRAM back out on offense. Centering the disc there to Todd. Looking for an option downfield. Some zone coming out. Don't have a large squad this weekend, do LMU. So if they can try and preserve the legs, that's probably a good strategy. Looking downfield. Oh, the huck's going to go up. They're looking for Katie Trim, the favoured receiver downfield. Scored deep for their first point, and she's scoring deep for their second as well. SCRAM tied at 2s.
It was actually a very interesting zone. It was actually more of a hybrid set, I'm going to say, which is it was zone and poaching on the handlers, but upfield it was tight marks. So where's the space in that? The space is on the swings. SCRAM saw that, took the swing, and then they had someone ready to take that open shot down the line.
So tied at 2s here with that SCRAM goal. Neither side getting a break on the board as yet. It will be interesting to see, you know, SCRAM have brought a larger squad this weekend. So maybe, you know, this is the third game of the day. I can do maths. It's an important game as well because the winner of this game goes into the semi-finals. There's no crossovers between the pools. The top 2 go straight to semis. So, you know, the winner of this game gets that semi-final spot.
And what's the importance of the semi-final? There is a spot at Worlds at stake.
Oh, yes, we're doing Worlds qualifying this year. Honestly, it's so difficult to keep track of everything because everything kind of got a little bit skew-if because of the pandemic. SCRAM have experienced that firsthand, obviously, with Scotland's COVID restrictions kind of being a little bit more stringent, especially for the first part of the season. So they didn't necessarily have that training depth that they would have liked going into the first part of the National League. So they came into it a little bit cold, and they perhaps felt that they underperformed a little bit in their first couple of games. But now they're training more regularly, trying to train 2-3 times a week, which, you know, is an advantage that a lot of teams haven't necessarily had. So maybe now they're really getting those connections ironed out and clicking together right in time for Nationals.
I think the word on the street was, or the word for my paragraphs as I was trying to desperately cover UK Ultimate this year, was that everyone was respecting SCRAM. It was clear that it was those classic slight jitters, and they still did a good name for themselves. The results were not blowouts. They just maybe weren't as close as SCRAM would like. They ended up 5th in the league. They technically had a game against Sheepbirds and Beads to try and qualify for Manchester, and they just weren't able to make the game happen. So SCRAM got that spot through, but honestly, I don't think anyone would question they deserve to be here. They worked hard in the league to avoid that 6th spot. They came out hard, and I think they would have come out, if there had been that game to go, they'd have come out hard too. It's sad to see as well, there's no Scottish mixed teams here, and so...
Yeah, first time in, since the kind of Black Eagles kind of wound it down, came home to roost. Yeah, there's been a bit of a dearth of Scottish mix, and it's always good to see that what was once Swift is now SCRAM, representing Scotland here. In the women's division, that's a big swing outside from Ford to Huang, and Huang looks downfield. Catch in stride right here on this near sideline. Looking downfield, looking for the up line. Huang has it. Gutter takes off deep. They're going to take the option. It's low and it's lasered and it's into the turf, and that's going to be a turnover. So SCRAM now with a break opportunity, but it looks like there's a foul on the throw.
I was about to say, hold your horses. It's our favourite thing in Frisbee, and that's a call.
Oh, everyone loves the call. That time maybe just getting a little bit too tight on the force. So that's going to be back into the hands of Huang, looking our options. Players will go and retake their positions.
What's the odds she takes the same shot again?
I think unlikely, given the player's already deep, so that space isn't quite there. Swing to the, I was going to say seemingly ageless Jenna Thompson, who's been at the top of UK Ultimate for as long as I've been playing. In the centre now, orchestrating the offense. Flick, oh, it's going to float a little bit. On the backup, not quite. It just sank at the crucial moment, but there's perhaps another discussion going on here. Teams knocking knees, perhaps.
Yeah, it's everyone's getting back into it. There's always that little bit of discussion about how close are we, what are we comfortable with, what was usual back in the day. I think that's settled very recently, though. I think perfectly fine to have a chat about it. There's been a knock, let's have a discussion, but I think the turn is fair.
I will always advocate just having the conversation, because it's much better than kind of letting anything perhaps simmer or fester under the surface, a little bit of resentment perhaps. You never like to see that. And, you know, it's especially early in games, often there is a metaphorical and literal feeling out process. And, you know, we're seeing that there. Here's Whiteley, who figures to be a prominent player on this SCRAM roster, getting hand blocked. Hello, there we go. Huang picks up into the end zone for the double happiness. Oh, a touch too strong. What a shame.
So all I'm going to say there is that's the mark of a great player, which is when you make a mistake, you get back up. Whiteley there could have just put her head down, you know, said like, oh no, I can't believe I've just run into the hand that's hit someone's foot as well. That's a double D. No, she got up, she made the throw difficult, and now they've got the disc back. They
talk about good players having short memories. You need to be able to pick out, you know, say, actually, this is not useful at this point. That toe-in is right on the sideline there from Vicky Jones, and there's going to be a discussion about whether she was able to keep that foot behind the line. The line kind of belongs to, it belongs to the defense, so if it's on the line, it's out. Oh, I tell you what, that is so tight, because she is right on the tiptoes there.
Here's the thing, if we can't tell in a replay, I think sending it back is the fair result, because look at this. I think it's fair.
Yeah, I think in the end they're going to give her the benefit of the doubt, so to speak. And, well, maybe you could say that the disc never lies, perhaps. Into the centre, knocked to the floor, as is a player. And she's going to bounce back up very quickly. And now Ford will try and put this point in. There's been a bit of a grind so far, this point for LMU, it has to be said. Looking into the centre of the pitch, here's Thompson. That little tossed backhand out to this near side channel, the stoppage, perhaps.
I mean, if there's one thing I'd expect LMU to have, it's mental strength. They've played so many high-intensity games at the toppest level of athleticism all across Ultimates, in every division.
Yeah, these tight nationals contests will not faze them at all, and a lot of the SCRAM squad are experienced as well, but that time it's just the precision with the throw, putting it right where it needed to be to the outside shoulder, and that'll get the goal. And finally, well, it wasn't the cleanest of points, but it counts all the same. 3-2 LMU lead.
Yeah, it's very good, but I believe that was still a hold. Like, this has been a real grind so far.
It's been a tight, somewhat cagey affair. You kind of feel that both sides perhaps have extra gears to shift up into. We're going to see a replay of that there. Just beautiful precision with the throw, hitting the outside shoulder, so the defender gets the bid in but can't get there. And I think a timeout called by LMU, so maybe, you know, especially when the sun's out, it gets pretty warm down there, it has to be said. So You know, just taking the opportunity to get some water on, stay hydrated, which I think is always a good idea, despite how I sound. I appreciate, like, I've been on the world's longest bender. Honestly, I wish that was the case. Unfortunately, I've done 2 games and my voice is shot. Such is being out of the habit. We will move on regardless.
Let me just jump in here as well. I also want to say how impressed I am. There's actually a little bit of a talk going on in the middle between the 2 teams there, I think, just making sure everything is fine. I want to talk about the strength of the women's division. It has been fantastic to see it grow over these years. Honestly, I can remember not too long ago when we couldn't even get 8 teams out. What we have here are 8 strong teams, and we can see this is a game fighting for the semi. And it is super intense, it is high level, we have some of the best players in Ultimate, some of the heroes that we've looked up to for years. I have, I'm getting on my years myself, but I've grown up seeing Becky Hay destroy teams.
Oh my word, always a threat. I mean, these are players who have played literally at the highest level the sport can offer. Players who have played not just, at Euros, at Worlds, they've played in the World Games, and you cannot get, that experience is priceless. So as I mentioned, a game like this is probably a relative walk in the park. I say at least in terms of pressure, yes, if not necessarily in terms of opposition.
Yeah, I think the opposition may have some words to say about that. That if it is a walk in the park, it's certainly going to be a lot of obstacles. It was a bit disingenuous, I will admit. But the point I'm trying to make is that this setting, this stage, is relatively normal to them. And I think we've had to vamp for long enough. The disc is coming back in. Excellent.
It's going to be LMU pulling. I wonder what the discussion was. It was Cheska Tyler-Weddle and Rona Gordon in discussion from each team. So maybe they're just talking about, maybe there's a little bit of bumpiness and physicality in some of the marking. I wonder what it was all about. Perhaps we will never know. I'm very pleased to see that the trams are making a regular appearance now. It's nice, don't usually see very trams. It makes me very, it's just, something a little bit different. SCRAM coming back out on offense, looking downfield. Instead, they're going to move it around the handler set. Here's Todd, and there's going to be a pick called. I think that's definitely the pick hand signal.
Now, I know there is a difference between a pick and a goal hand signal, and I believe one of them has closed fists and one of them doesn't.
That is correct, yes. Very good.
Two of you at home in the chat, does anyone want to let us know which is which?
Honestly, hand signals have made our lives as commentators so much easier, especially in games where there's potential language barriers. There's a swing open all the way to the far side, but instead they're working it on the near side. Barkley looks central and dumps back off to Todd. Again, just resetting it around the back at the moment. That's a big gainer downfield. A huge portion of the field in that one throw. Oh, but it's off the hand, bobbled and out of the grasp. And that'll be a turnover. LMU with a chance to put themselves 2 points to the good. Lily Huang is going to walk over towards the disc, just taking a little bit of time, a little slow march, getting everything set downfield.
She knows how to work a crowd. Looking
like they've got an isolation on this near side, but instead they look back into the centre of the field. Disced off, and then they're just happy working it around the handler set for now. Oh, over the head, but it almost landed straight in the lap of Becky Haig. That time she couldn't quite reel it in, so SCRAM will get a second bite of the cherry.
There's a little bit of a floaty wind. We saw that in our last game. It was Oxford against Thundering Herd.
And that time they're looking deep immediately, but they definitely weren't on the same page there. The cut was fine, but the throw was a little bit airmailed, and she certainly wasn't expecting the disc to come when it did.
Maybe the cut was a little bit earlier as well. It's all very well getting free, but you need to know who you're throwing to, or who's throwing to you.
This time they do hit the isolated player in space, and they found an option in the middle. That's Marszalek. She's looking around, perhaps going for the dump off, indeed, and Thompson gets free, as she so frequently does. Lost one of her numbers already. Well, they tried. And this time Huang puts a floaty shot deep, but it finds the isolated receiver in the end zone. Liza brings down the disc, and that'll be 4-2 now. So London Masters Ultimate with the first break of the game, and they've put a little bit of breathing space in between themselves and SCRAM.
You really want to get that first break, but with the way it's looking, there's a little bit back and forth. There's some good defense happening on field. And I'll just leave it a second to look at this. A little bit of a fake from Lily Huang. Goes up in the air. A little step inside just to put her receiver off. If you're just watching the thrower, or you're just watching the person who wants to catch it, sometimes they can put you off with a simple step and get an easy grab. Very masterful work there from Lisa, but I think there's some good defense, and so I don't think one break is going to be enough to rest your laurels on.
Yeah, certainly. We've seen this quite a lot in the games today, that teams have been able to pull ahead, and then sometimes you can kind of put your foot on the gas and really pull away, and then there are other times where it doesn't quite work out like that, and actually, you think you've got that breathing room, and then the other team kind of takes that personally, and they come back hard.
Yeah, there's definitely certain teams which weirdly get hyped up by going down. And they're the worst teams to face. You want the team that puts their head down, and I don't think SCRAM are going to be putting their head down today.
It's really interesting what mindset teams need to get into to play their best ultimate. Because I think generally, some teams, they want that really high intensity physicality. Some teams, they're much better when they're relaxed and just enjoying themselves and playing freely. And there are the rare teams who, I think about the old Canadian Furious George teams, who seem to not be able to play their best unless they actively hated each other, which is a strange state of affairs. But this SCRAM team is a lot more relaxed, a lot more loose, and that one is well reeled in downfield. It was a swirling shot, but was able to track the flight of it effectively. Looking now for a potential reset downfield. It's not coming, so they do find an option, making some gainers there with Schrempf. Resetting into the centre. Gordon is suspiciously free, which is usually the sign of the pick, and indeed the pick is called, so the disc will go back into Schrempf's possession.
They're right on the end zone. Think to yourself, what do you do here? Is there a clear option? What's your sets?
And if in doubt, inside out thumber. Or you could just take the sensible reset, or bobbled under a little bit of contact. Actually good hands and good focus to catch that at the second effort. It's looking a little bit stagnant in the end zone. Alex Hiley does find an option free. Here's Shona Whiteley. Looking down for a dump. The dump's not there. Was way too far away. No connection at all. And that is easy pickings for Jenna Thompson. And now there's not a huge amount of wind, but what we have is going from right to left as you see it on the camera. So this is the downwind direction now, with Kate Ford picking up the disc with the number 9 on her back. Well, sort of. Taped on in Roman numerals, which is a design choice. Reminds me of the Black Eagles of old.
At least these are actual Roman numerals.
Oh yeah, that was a constant annoyance to me, to be honest. Actually, to be fair, even if they were done properly, it would still have been an annoyance to me. What's wrong with real? Anyway, I digress. SCRAM picking up, trying to reduce this 2-point deficit. But still count is rising. There's not a lot downfield. They just about get the reset free. Schrempf has the disc in her possession, but there's another call. We've had a few stoppages already early in this game. Hope that these get ironed out and we get a nice free-flowing contest going forward. Actually, there's going to go back into the possession of the thrower here.
SCRAM facing another issue of that handler swing, this time at the other end of the field.
So SCRAM taking a look. They're not really seeing a lot. The cutter's activating late, but just enough time to make the adjustment from Estelle Fuller. Looking for the continuation in a tight window, and it was overshot in the end. Hiley couldn't reel it in, so this is good break position now for LMU. They're picking it on the verge of the red zone. Ford with a big centering pass. They've got the disc in prime position here for the score. Oh, hello! How on earth did Shona Whiteley come up with that? Good Lord, I thought that was Thompson's for all money, but Shona Whiteley, the speed of the hands to pick Thompson's pockets there. Wow, what a defensive play. And now she'll try and power their offense. Whiteley, she's got the free swing available. This is what SCRAM need to do when they see these poaching opportunities. Just take what they're being given. There's never a bad open pass. Fuller looking for an option downfield. Tight pressure, too tight perhaps. The foul is called. It's Lily Huang defensively, I think. Trying to see who it is for SCRAM. So we see it again on the replay.
I'll tell you what else I saw on that point, though. I saw a long cut developing, but not being taken. I really want SCRAM to be looking at those, because LMU know if there's no long shots going, they can just poach for days. You need to have that full dimensionality of the field in your roster, or an experienced team is going to make the most of it.
And that plays, the poaching really plays into LMU's hands. A, because they've got that really good field awareness and presence to know where to be. And B, because if you're running short numbers, if you can work smarter, not harder, that's a brilliant, that's a wonderful thing to do. If you can try and make yourself do as little running as possible, and that's a miscommunication. Looking for Thompson, isolated at the front of the end zone as her other number now falls off. Thankfully, we can spot her with those rainbow accented shorts.
Love them.
Big fan. So SCRAM trying to finally get their offense going, which has really come in fits and starts at this point. Here's Gordon making leaving no doubt as to where she wants the players to go, and it is very much that way. Nice break of the force there. Oh, Whiteley almost did it again. That time just inches away from ending up in her grasp, and this point's becoming a little bit grindy. Which team has the ability to just kind of pull through it, get themselves reset? It's going to be Huang picking up now for LMU.
Rona Gordon, though, super smart player, leads the team. She's completely right. That's where the space is. She wants options there.
It was all very clustered towards their own end zone, and that makes the defense's job a lot easier. Disc on the far sideline. Here's Sharman. I think there maybe is a little bit of discussion about her foot placement, whether she was in or out.
Or whether she was checking it all about.
I'm not having that. I admire the attempt, but I think in the end they're happy to decide that she was indeed in bounds. And now Sharman looking downfield, or behind. There's not a huge window. That's the problem there. When you've got the disc trapped on the sideline, is that you've got so little margin for error. And that time on the inside shoulder, had to reach back and try and claw it in. It wasn't there, and now SCRAM looking deep, but LMU were wise to it. Not able to sneak that one past.
Let me tell you, this is not a bad position to be in when you've been stuck in one corner for a long time.
Yeah, at least it's now the attacking brick mark that they managed to get the disc to, rather than playing right in the shadow of their own end zone. Oh, this is much better, quicker disc movement now from LNU, and Thompson opens the arm, looking for the back of the end zone. A touch too much for Ford to reel in. I thought that was going to be the breakthrough, but no, the point continues.
Ford not quite able to turn the engines on in time, but a great movement there.
All right, I'll allow that one.
Thank you.
This time you can see Thompson's looking downfield. The mark is very loose, and if you put a loose mark on Gemma Thompson, she is gonna, well, she's gonna put it deep as well she should. She's, you know, if you don't put that pressure in the face, you really get the opportunity to wind up, use the full reach, the full pivot, really kind of rotate the torso through it. It's just too much on it. Whiteley on the sideline. Oh, that is a fake and a half. Got the defender biting, and then she does go for the inside-out backhand. Oh. Really well reeled in by Fuller. The continuation into the end zone for Logie, and that is a SCRAM score. They're keeping touch with LMU, and they're keeping it tight. They're just the 1 point down now at 4-3.
Words you're not going to hear often. Huang was boxed out there. That was lovely by Fuller, that positioning. Particularly as that's the last thing we've been able to try in trainings as things have been coming back. You can see here the body position. She sees it's coming by and she's holding. It means Huang has to go up big and early. I mean, she's got the easy catch and the easy score. And
then just playing a little bit of we always used to call it the King of the Hill drill. I guess it's probably Queen of the Hill, I guess, for women's ultimate. Right, that seems to track.
Let's just call it Monarch of the Hill for both.
That'll do. But it was all opened up from the huge backhand fake, and there was a lot of snap in the wrist, so the pump was very convincing, and that meant that the mark was just a little bit looser again to actually open up that throw, the lovely inside-out shape, the box out, and then I love that there was the backup there for the continuation. So rather than waiting for everyone to rush downfield, it was easily just off you go, bang, job done.
It's a point of maturity in every Ultimate player's career when you realize you don't have to go big and go high over people. showing people that boxing is just as legitimate an option to get the disc, it sort of blows people's minds because you see the highlight reels, and highlight reels rarely show a fantastic box of the disc.
Yeah, because it's not like, you know, you think about like the classic posterization, one player going up over another, it looks great, but someone just catching it, clap catching it, looks boring. But they've already done all the hard work, because the reason they're so free is because they've got that body position and there's no possible way for a defender to make a play. Here we go, back in with LMU. Haig has it on the far sideline. There are a couple of options deep, but I don't think she likes them. That one she does like. Ford gets it downfield, immediately dishes off into the centre, making use of the free player there. That is good fundamental ultimate there. Here's Thompson looking at the end zone. You know that she's got plenty of throws in the locker, but that time she just goes for the sensible reset. A scything inside break through the middle of the field. Marshall to Thompson now, surveying the end zone. Again, going back into the centre. This is very good fundamentals, just taking the free passes, and eventually they work a player free, and that restores LMU's 2-point advantage after a bit of a grind the previous point. Nice clean offense there for London Masters to go up 5-3.
A little bit of trading, but you know what? It's still good ultimate to see. And it was interesting actually, that big gainer. So I wouldn't call it a huck, but I'd call it a mid-range gainer in the deep space. That's what really sort of opened up the field and allowed them to just kind of walk through the scram defense, and then you just set up something nice like this.
So you are joining us here at UKU Nationals, Highfield Sports Complex here in Nottingham. Got the university just in the background, cars going down University Boulevard, as I understand it is called, which is very fancy. Every now and again some trams pass by in the distance. We've got a hockey and a tennis complex over towards the right as well. It's a lovely site. It's as much as I love the wind farm, because it is an experience like no other, this is certainly a more picturesque backdrop, I think.
Let me tell you, there's actually a lake just beyond that, and if you want just a lovely hour walk, I'd fully recommend getting some friends, going around that lake, chilling with the people. You know, it's really nice. I was actually somewhat affiliated with Nottingham for one of my degrees, and so got to come here for a week and study, and it's a beautiful city, and we'll miss the wind. But
well, I have a story about a couple of stories about lakes at Frisbee tournaments that I will not go into on Nationals, but maybe I will save up in the locker for those of you who will be joining us at Glastonbury in a couple of weeks' time. So there you are. There's a little tease with, you know, bumper ultimate calendar coming up after Nationals here. As I mentioned, we're in Glastonbury in a couple of weeks' time for the Glastonbury tournament and for UKU Masters Nationals. And then looking even further beyond that, we've got other tournaments coming up in Europe, including WGGM BUCC, the classic Wagugambukuk.
Indeed.
The World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships in Sardinia, and from there ULTI.TV goes straight on to Bruges for XEUCF the first weekend of October, and you can watch it all live and for free on the ULTI.TV YouTube channel. But you know, while it is for free, we would appreciate the support, because unfortunately it does cost us money to put the coverage on. As much as I would love to be able to just rock up and do it for nothing, we've got to get everyone here, and we've got to get all the equipment here, and it's a bit of a drag sometimes. So any way you can support us, whether that be just kind of sharing us through the socials, interacting with the comment section, or going onto the website ULTI.TV, and you can make any one-off donations that are greatly appreciated, or you can even become a patron through our Patreon page and support ULTI.TV for a small monthly fee, which is basically just like paying a subscription service to anything else.
I mean, it's fantastic. I love to see it. I love that the games are free. If you like a game, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, like it, leave a comment, all that sort of good stuff that you've heard from 1,000 YouTube channels, because we're trying to build something.
I think unfortunately all that good stuff is the accepted terminology for this sort of thing. I don't know how or when it happened, but all of a sudden it's all that good stuff.
But let me tell you right now, this is a fantastic game. We've got so many talented athletes, and we're going to get some highlights on this stream that these players are going to be able to take home. If you want us to be able to bring more of that and to highlight such fantastic ultimates, let us know. Give us a shout out. Even if you can't give us any money, share it and watch all the videos you want to. It's
a job we love doing, and it's a privilege to be here back at the big show once more. UKU Nationals, and SCRAM are looking deep. That's a big shot. Oh, the layout was inches away. It was not a bad bit at all. It's your way, actually, with the effort. I tell you what, came very close to being one of those highlights that you talked about.
I mean, we can still share it.
It is a very valiant attempt, but unfortunately for SCRAM's perspective, it comes to nothing. So now Masters trying to open up their first 3-point lead of the game, getting a receiver cutting underneath, but there's no real continuation downfield, so dishing it back off to Hwang. And now the offense for LMU really going to work. Oh, Thompson with an expansive bit of her own. No nonsense from Vicky Jones, just slapping that one to the turf, giving their offense a chance to set up. Picking the disc up and looking downfield. They've got Whiteley in the centre of the pitch, and Whiteley winds up the arm. This one's going to float and it's going to hang, and this time Way is equal to it into the end zone. The continuation and the bookends for Vicky Jones. SCRAM again, they're hanging on in there. They're keeping it tight. 5-4, LMU still lead.
Kind of what I said. If they can use that deep space, LMU can't poach as much. If those throws can come off, Way with a fantastic grab there as well, just in acres of space. If they can keep doing that, then LMU are going to have to be forced to work for every point. And let me tell you, that's the last thing they want to do.
Yeah, the more easy, the kind of the quicker the points are, the better for LMU. Oh, what a bid that was from Thompson. And then again, they need to find a way to really stop down the long game from players like Whiteley especially, because she's more than happy to really punt it downfield, back the receivers, and what, you know, your way is not necessarily the tallest of players, but again, getting that body position there nice and early, and you love that there's the continuation straight there, and Jones catches it for the SCRAM score.
I mean, Way's won Uni Nats before, and she's just coming to the next stage. You love to see it.
Yeah, won Women's Nationals with UCL back in 2017 and picked up a bronze medal with Strathclyde a couple of years later as well. So that's why we're seeing her plying her trade up in Scotland for SCRAM. I must say, it's always good fun seeing SCRAM at tournaments. Like, you always know when SCRAM there, because they're kind of, they are rowdy and boisterous, which is exactly what you would expect and hope for from a Scottish team.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping for a SCRAM versus SIC rematch. I don't know if the schedule will make it happen, but it was spicy last time it happened at Nationals, and we see a fantastic pull coming out there.
Yeah, this is a good deep pull going towards the end zone. So it's the majority of the field, they're going to have to grind their way down here. Looking for the underneath option. Sharman runs through, gets the space. Now looks downfield, doesn't see it. Reset's not free, a high stall, just punted into the middle of the pitch. Well, it's better than getting stalled out, you know, and it's exactly the right thing to do. High stall, get it downfield, put it in a cloud of bodies. In the end, Liza comes through the maelstrom with humanity in there. And now she goes deep once more. This one was a much more intentional deep look, it has to be said. And SCRAM flood and fill the end zone. There's going to be a brief stoppage, though, for a pick.
I'm a big fan of those unconventional looks. Like, I think indoors, a blade down the middle of the stack.
Look, I've seen the way that you dress, Harry. Evidently, you're a fan of an unconventional look.
But here's the thing. Those unconventional looks, they're coming from top-level players. And so, always an option.
And you know, if the option is have the turnover downfield or get stalled out, I know what option I'd rather have. It's the turnover downfield, just in case.
I was gonna double check that one.
So on the doorstep now, going backwards rather than forwards, just to give themselves a little bit more space to work with, try and change the angles of attack. It's a little bit clustered and jammy at the front of that end zone, and they're going right the way back to the brick mark now. Hwang with the space, puts the inside out, but there's no one on the end of it, and SCRAM now will have the disc in their possession with a chance to even us up at 5 apiece. This game and the pendulum swinging back and forth. Swing Dayana on the far side. Very popular member of this SCRAM roster. Downfield, this is high, and it's reeled in. SCRAM making use of their tall height downfield. Katie Trim has only been playing for a couple of years, but she's 6 foot tall, and that is a big advantage to have. Unfortunately, you can't teach tall, because I have tried to learn on many occasions. Here's Todd. Still count beginning to tick up high. Todd with a low throw. Oh, couldn't quite clutch the hands around it.
it's tough because when the stall count is high, you've got to put it out early with flow. And with that particular backhand look as well, that is a difficult thing to do. It's gone back, though.
Yeah, I think there must have been a foul on the throw, so the disc is back in Todd's possession. And Todd just going to take the sensible option and swinging it. Nice high release break. Love the way to open that break space. And they're looking deep for Trim once more. And all Katie Trim does is catch goals. She is a natural-born goal scorer. That's at least 3 already. Over half of the SCRAM points have ended up in her possession. And we're now knotted back up at 5 apiece, Harry.
We have a tie game. That is great from SCRAM. This is what I was talking about, was I expected LMU to have really good mental toughness. For SCRAM to be able to show it too, to say, I've got to break down, but I'm still going to fight back, that is fantastic work. And that's exactly the sort of thing that's going to matter in this game, but also the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And that is fantastic for Katie Trim.
I mean, this is her first time on the national stage. You know, started playing pretty much, you know, just before the pandemic. It only been playing 2 years, and she does not look out of her depth at all here. The SCRAM roster, they've got a lot of veteran players, but they are, you know, there is a focus on developing Scottish women's ultimate as well. So they've got that not interesting blend of youth and experience, and so far seems to be meshing pretty well on the weekend.
Right. So says she studies neuroscience, and that's some very bold grabs she's getting right there. And I appreciate that pun is for free people.
Yes, I must admit it is slightly lost on me. I will be honest, but that doesn't. I'm sure the few people that understood it very much enjoyed it. Tell you what, I mean, doing neuroscience at St Andrews, you've got to have a little bit about you, don't you? And you know, the St Andrews Ultimate program is fabled in, you know, UK Ultimate. So, you know, there's a reason that Scotland is producing a lot of talent, and it's because they put an effort into the development and into the coaching, and it's what you like to see.
Yeah, I know that Rachel Turton's now that way. She's been helping a lot with the coaching as well, but Benji's been there for a long time as well.
The other Benji Hayward at St Andrews.
Look, there's one Benji for me, mate. You know that.
Means a lot that you would think about him that way. Shout out to Herr Vischer, who is our latest patron. Anyone else who wants to get involved, you can find us at ULTI.TV. Join the Patreon there. Any support you have, even if it's a little amount, is greatly appreciated. You can also make a one-off donation. And if money is tight, which I understand that for a lot of people it is, as we still kind of make our way out of the pandemic, any support you can offer us is greatly appreciated, be that monetary or just in good vibes. Everything is very much appreciated.
You can find the link anywhere, otherwise it's patreon.com and then the word ULTI, the word dots, and the word TV.
Well, not the word dot, just a dot.
No, in the URL.
Oh, in the URL. Sorry, I see what you're on now.
It's good communication. It's always useful.
Honestly, like, it's been a long day already, and we've still got a game and a half to go. Oh. Cannot whack the tournament atmosphere, can you? You cannot whack it. So it looks like they're going to go for a side stack.
Ooh.
Interesting. SCRAM just kind of poaching off in that central space that they're going to be looking to attack. At the moment, they're keeping it kind of junky on the handlers. We'll see whether that phases LMU. I would suspect not, and so far they're just working that little dominator down the field very effectively, it has to be said. Here's Huang. So getting a little bit stifled now, and they're trying to find an option down the pitch. There we go, the big open pass. Marshall X in plenty of space. Humes thinks about putting the force on, but instead drops back to cover Haig. Swing goes out on this near side to Thompson. Thompson with that high release lefty that is perhaps her trademark throw. And Marszalek is in acres of space. Clearly a defensive miscommunication there. Some sort of breakdown. Getting players of this quality free in the end zone is a recipe for disaster. And London Masters cooking up another score there to go 6-5 into the lead.
Half is going to be at 8 in this tournament, so we are very much edging close to it. If London Masters can push that way to half, it's definitely going to serve them in their favour. You do get 2 timeouts per half. I think we've seen a couple used already as well, but this is some lovely movement. That high release backhand.
It's just trademark Thompson, really, isn't it? And then just lovely continuation for the score. Evidently some sort of breakdown. I'm not quite sure how that's happened, but what can you do?
I mean, maybe the high release backhand doesn't go as well. We have a very fun fact, which is, for Jenna Thompson, one time at band camp, I high-fived Jules in the face and gave her a black eye. I just went, that was one of my favorites.
Look,
I have to...
Look, there is a high-five technique, and that high-five technique is focused on the elbows. There you go. Easy.
And yet, neither of us have a black eye, so I'm curious to know what happened.
Look, I think generally the idea of high-five is to make contact with the other person's hand and not with their face.
Oh. I've been doing the high eye. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Here we go. London Masters have put their noses in front, and Thompson's going to pull. Note that she is a very strong puller. Once more, she muscles it. It's caught on the brick mark. SCRAM trying to burgle some yarns before LMU gets set. Really, Boyd looks downfield. Takes the underneath option to Ellen Barkley. Good little flow here from SCRAM. Here's Katie Trim. Usually seeing her a bit even deeper with that, but she takes the sensible option for the reset and is going to get back and cause some damage in the stack downfield. Todd looks for the reset. And she's going to get the disc back. They're just playing between the two of them at the moment. Their stack is very far downfield. In the end, a player comes forward, but there is a pick called nice and early.
Almost sarcastically beat to the ground there by Caroline after
the
pick had been called.
It's a moral victory. It's a moral victory. This is the problem when you kind of get that vertical stack, especially when it got a little bit of a muddle there because it was so far away, is that any player cutting out of that is almost certainly going to cause picks when you come up against one-to-one defense, which is something to be avoided.
If possible.
Yes. If only there was some way of getting players spaced out so those picks didn't happen.
Here we see a vertical stack in the end zone, which is, they attempted it.
It is the most traditional, conventional offense, especially in the red zone, where you give yourself two clear options to hit, one on the open and one on the break side. Todd looking, and Boyd squirrels her way free in the handler set. Hello, faking the scuba, I like that. A little bit of cheekiness there, bit of a wry sense of humour in the handling set. Love to see it.
They've actually backed quite a way away from the end zone now. You don't want to be looking to the end zone. You want to be taking those shorter passes out.
Oh, great catch by Ina, because that was a little bit behind and she had to make a snap adjustment. Tries to activate Boyd, goes for the around backhand into the turf. There's going to be, I think, a foul call on that pivot out. I think I like what they're doing. It's so often when you're close to the end zone and you're in the red zone, the temptation is to always look at the end zone, but it's a lot harder to hit that from a static situation, and it's a lot easier when you're getting it in flow, just bouncing it around the back a little bit more, and it's a nice smooth motion. I think the foul is going to go, the disc is going to go back to Aina there, and she's looking out of the end zone. Todd's not in just yet, but she will throw the winning assist. I say the winning assist, for that point at least.
Each point is a victory.
Absolutely. And that one ends in SCRAM's favour, so we're tied at sixes. Oh, this is tight, Harry. This is very tight.
It is very tight indeed. And, you know, that vert stack in the end zone, lovely to see. I know everyone on the crew across ULTI.TV is a big fan of the vert stack.
Honestly, hey, if teams, look, vertical stack has its limitations. I think that has been well documented. But it serves a purpose, you know, especially if teams go very, kind of honest, hard one-to-one defense. It's good because you give yourself so much break space, and throwers at nationals level, especially in the handling set, they will back themselves to break the force every day of the week. I've no idea what that could be referencing. Some sort of, is that an octagon shape? There's no way that could be a thing.
Yeah.
Would never work. There's only 7 players. Failure.
The team's lining up with host stack on the line here.
They're just lining up for the... Don't you do that. Interesting to see what sort of defense they come out with, because we did see SCRAM. They've been a little bit more zoney their last few D points, but it hasn't necessarily worked. As you know, it's always a risk when you're coming up against players with the depth of game knowledge as this pool swirls and circles back towards the sideline. I wonder, in this situation, would you take it from the sideline, or would you rather lose the yards and have it in the centre of the pitch?
From the sideline, scuba break.
Kate Ford disagrees with you. She's going to the brick mark, giving themselves kind of both sides of the field to hit, especially with the wind a little bit in their favour as well. You know, just kind of open up both channels to go for. It is going to be at least some poaching, because they left Huang wide open, and that is the easiest lick they will ever had. But the continuation downfield bounces in and out of the hands of Claire Sharman. Looking very good for 21, apparently. I honestly, like, clear. I love that generally everyone put their age as 21, with the exception of Kayleen Maietta, who put her actual age, evidently not getting the memo, which I think is very funny.
But we will keep that secret.
Yes. Hammer fake, and you know, Whiteley's shown that she's willing to be expansive with her throws, so even though she hasn't uncorked the hammer, you've got to respect that, I guess. This is why I sometimes like getting an overhead in early, because if the team knows that you're going to throw it, that fake's going to be a lot more respected. That one, however, not able to be reeled in, and it rolls in and out of the end zone. Ford will pick it up once more.
I played with Ford on dead mix, and I will say I will trust her decision over mine every time.
Yes, I think that's generally a good idea. No offense. Here's Huang, looking downfield, but with a very loose mark. She's just got all the time in the world to pick her pass. Haig takes off downfield. She's had a relatively quiet game, and that time the pass goes underneath instead, but underneath and into the turf.
I think SCRAM is super scared of Huang Long, so every time she throws, they're taking a few steps off. She's smart, she's just going to keep taking those every time, but considering some turns.
And it's strange because she's certainly been doing more of her damage, I think, in the handler core. Wow, that throw really zipped, and it was too strong. I think just a little bit of just a little pat on the back between Jones and Marshallek there. Just making sure that they were okay, because...
Did it twice.
I think, oh yeah, maybe just wondering if she did it into her a little bit. And this is the deep shot. They're looking for Haig downfield. It's very bladey. Put in the bid, but it came to nothing. Just honestly, if it just holds its edge for a little bit more straight, and then she would have had a play at it. But as it is, it knifed and it died very quickly, and she couldn't get underneath it and scoop it before it hit the turf.
You can't get underneath it. Do a trailing edge grab.
Oh God, no! Oh, but honestly. This comes very much from how I was coached, but people going trailing edge, unless it's absolutely necessary, makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit.
What a point block! You heard that from the booth.
That was loud and proud, and now we're going to see it on the replay. Reading the eyes. There is a little bit of baggage in that wind-up, isn't there? So telegraphing the throw a little bit. The hand is in position, emphatically in the way. And now Ford with the disc looking inward, trying to get the downline throw. Can they utilize the poach? They can, but not in the end zone just yet. Looking infield, Ford, a little bit of bumping in the handler set, and it bounces out of her hand. SCRAM, I wonder if they look to strike quickly. Well, I think Whiteley ran over this just in case it was open, but the opportunity never quite presented itself.
I think that's good as well. After you've had a slight turn, give yourself a bit of time, but it's another turn.
It feels like the points have been incredibly fluid and quick, or they've had a tendency to become a little bit of a turn fest. You know, it's often really difficult because the longer the point goes on, kind of the more you lose your focus, the more tired you get. So it becomes a bit more difficult to score. There's a real art to winning these sorts of grinding points. Ford really holding out that flick to try and get the mark moving. She's not biting it, and skying the pack. Well, you know, you mentioned sometimes you have to get a little bit creative with your throwing. Why not just play some 500s?
I mean, when you've got receivers like that, then yeah, absolutely back that. I mean, you get a point block, and that's not the coolest thing you do in a point. Wow.
I mean, the force is right over on that side, and it's space to put that IO backhand, but it's airmailed high up, and it's just a massive humanity underneath it. But rises high, snags the disc down, and that puts LMU 1 point away from half-time. They lead SCRAM by 7-6 here.
Now, I'm a big fan. If you get the point block, do you walk away without looking at it? Just the cool person, like an explosion, just be like, boom, that meant nothing to me? Or do you give it a little bit of fist bump, celebrate? It was a good moment.
You dab.
Only if it's universe point.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, I'll accept that.
Oh, we did dab in the... Oh. I've just realised we may have missed the dab in the last game.
You should have dab and grabbed for the win. That is the play.
Honestly, the run through was quite close.
The ultimate disrespect, the dab and grab for the win. Nice win, by the way.
Thank you. The ultimate disrespect is to wipe it on someone's back as they're laying out past you.
That is, to be fair, that is disrespectful. I will give you that. Thompson's going to pull with LMU looking to break for half.
LMU a lot more classy than I am.
I mean, are we surprised? Here we go, SCRAM. This is a much nicer offensive point. They've really spaced their receivers out, making those equilateral triangles. I had a little bit of a tip that they might pull a little bit of hex on us, and it looks like they've done it there. That one is very nearly rescued. Some sort of miscommunication.
Nearly caught with the legs. It's a rare thing to see in Ultimate, but it happens occasionally.
Hey, as long as you've got it under your control and it hasn't hit the floor, it's all good. And Huang looking deep straight away, picking the right matchup, and that was an emphatic snag with authority. Looking for the break now to half, getting the foot in the way, so preventing that throw going downfield. Huang has a target. It's high. It's there. Not quite. Hello. Just waited a split second too long. And I think there's Estelle Fuller who's making amends there for SCRAM.
Estelle Fuller, I think the youngest player on the field for SCRAM, or close to it, coming up against the Masters.
And that's that veteran presence once more.
The point block and walk away.
I mean, those two will have matched up and played with and against each other throughout the years, won't they? Certainly. And bam, there we go. Could not get a more emphatic point block than that. Break the force into the end zone for the goal, and LMU will take half here by 8-6. But this is a very entertaining contest here, Harry.
It certainly is, and I hope in their huddle, SCRAM are going to talk to each other about how they're not out of it yet.
Absolutely not.
This is a super close game. SCRAM have worked their way up once to back to making it level, and I think a lot of people talk about momentum. It's like, oh, you're getting your way there, and then you've got the energy to go further. I honestly don't believe in that as much. It takes such energy to come out to get those points back and then sustain it and keep yourself at that level, especially when you're facing a team with mental toughness. SCRAM do have a job ahead of them, and they're going to have to time that right.
So we're going to take a short break, but we'll be back with you very shortly for the second half here at UKU Nationals.
Bye.
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Welcome back to ULTI.TV's coverage of UKU Nationals here at the Highfield Sports Complex in Nottingham. Benjamin Rees alongside Harry Mason here for this game. Don't worry, Harry, I'll let you finish your mouthful of cake, which, look, I must admit, I thought looked good, and then I realised that it is a cake with fruit in it, which is an aberration, and so you have lost all respect that I had for you. Never mind, you had a good run. You're joining us here, action from our first women's game of the weekend. We've got Scotland SCRAM up against London Masters Ultimate. London Masters Ultimate take half 8-6, but it's been a tight back and forth contest.
It absolutely has. As an aside, is banana bread a cake with fruit in it?
I wouldn't call it a cake, but I also wouldn't eat it.
Let's hear any distinct opinions. But
look, matter at hand.
But ahead of us, as I say, I was so hyped to see LMU, the Cup winners, National Cup winners, come out here and show what they can do against the National League teams. I know they've been kind of wanting this for a while, and this was sort of the ideal season for a team like LMU to come together. I think we're getting a bit of Rabbi Burns from SCRAM.
I must admit, I appreciate that there are viewers in Scotland who will have lost any respect they had for me, and there are players on SCRAM who will have lost any. I've never been to Scotland. I've never been north of Yorkshire in the UK. I know that Copenhagen is north of Yorkshire. I've been there, but yeah. Honestly, given how much fun they always seem to have, it is a journey that I have been planning on making for some time.
Let me tell you, go to a Burns night. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. There's always a lot of fun chat, there's a lot of fun vibes, and I believe there is a Rabbie Burns specific tournament as well held in Scotland indoors every year to celebrate Scotland's greatest poet. I think they count him as the greatest. I don't think I'm in controversial.
Yeah, I
territory
think
there.
I think that is probably the generally accepted opinion. And SCRAM, I mean, they're always kind of rowdy and boisterous. They're very loud. They've got some quite unique cheers. They've named they've got, rather than having kind of O lines and D lines, they've kind of just got two separate sets, which they've actually I can't remember what they've named. What they named both of them. One of them's called "It's Coming Rome" because nothing amuses Scotland more than England doing terribly, unfortunately. And you know what? It's a brand. I respect it. I don't agree with it, but I respect. Actually, I kind of agree with it, to be honest. That's a matter for another time.
As the person on the team that stopped there being any Scottish mixed teams at this tournament by beating Glasgow in the game to go, fair. I think I've earned a little bit of vitriol from that side.
Yeah, it's so weird not seeing a Scottish mixed team here, but we do have two Scottish teams representing here this weekend. Obviously, SCRAM you can see on your screen right now, and the other team we will be seeing in our next game. After this one, we got our second Open Division game of the day with Alba, who are, really pushing, not just for a spot in the final, but for the national title. They'll be up against Bristol in our last game of the day, but in the meantime, we've still got the exciting conclusion of action from the women's division with SCRAM taking on London Masters Ultimate.
I just want to take a small second to give a quick shout out to Glasgow. They are still incredibly strong despite a lot of their players going to the other two teams. It was a real fight to do so, and I think it would be blithe of me not to give them a shout out for how great a game it was. That said, we've got two teams that made nationals in front of us, and they are both looking great.
They are indeed, and I think looking at it at the moment, you'd probably put LMU as the favourites. That 2-point advantage is not to be sniffed at, especially because they are receiving to start the second half. So the opportunity to go the old 2 for none there, which is always nice. Get 2 on the board without giving your opponents a possession if they can work this up ever so slightly against the wind. They want to get most of it in one go, but it is overshot. So SCRAM will have a chance for an early break opportunity here in the second half, one that would be most welcomed to help them cut the deficit down to just the 1 point.
It's tough because it's the one at the half. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a break, but it's just as hard earned, and it's just as important to the game.
So they're moving the disc quickly already down that far sideline. Big, powerful fakes, trying to free some cutters up in space. Oh, bobbled and rolled at the second attempt. Wow, that was a little bit dicey, but calmness prevailed. And now Barkley finds an option in the centre. Trying to find an option. Looks like they're just trying to get their handlers reset. Not a lot of movement going on downfield. Aggressive inside break, but it is low, and it bounces in and out of Gemma's hands. So now LMU maybe can open up a 3-point advantage.
That IO flick is not as easy as people think. I don't see people turf it.
It's a really great throw if you can master it, but it is very, very difficult. So really nail down. They're trying to find and isolate Huang in the handler space. Stall count rising. It is low or just about kept alive. Reset goes to Thompson, who will try and chill things out a little bit here. Powers away up the line. Looking towards the end zone. Thought maybe she was going to try and squeeze that one in there, but cooler heads prevailed. Now they've got a player in plenty of space, catching it on the run, looking at the end zone. Huang bounces back inside, goes to ground, but does secure the grab. And high, they were trying to find Thompson, but they choreographed it a little bit too much. And when you've got defenders like Boyd there lurking, she's all over it, and now she lashes one deep into plenty of space on the attacking brick mark, or level with it at least on that far sideline. Todd tries to get free, and she provides a comfortable reset. Trying to break the force, faking the around. This one is going to take some chasing, and it's a touch too strong. Just a little too much on that backhand into space.
It was an unconventional throw from LMU last time, and I think SCRAM are starting to be aware of it. They know LMU have more options than the typical opposition they're going to face, and so you just need to be a lot more switched on, and if you are, you may get that easy turn. That said, not able to make the most of it. Wang back with the disc.
And I think it was very clear what they were trying to do. And you've got to credit the smart help defense. That's a lovely grab over the shoulder to reel it in. Pumps the fake deep. Doesn't like it. Huang provides support. Thompson is wide open in that dump space. If the break of the force was good, it was going to go in her grasp, and it was indeed. This one caught running towards this near sideline. Fake downfield, looking back central. Most of the LMU players have lost their shirt numbers now. And this one is high, but Thompson pops up and brings it down. And that is a 3-point lead. And they're looking, I must admit, London Masters, they're playing really nicely right now. They lead 9-6, I guess it would be. I think they're trying to work out whether they want that little serif at the bottom of the scoreboard there. The score stays the same, regardless. Tell you what, London Masters giving themselves a little bit of space to work with, at least in terms of the scoreline.
It's a fantastic hold, certainly, and shout out to Sharman, who I think is the only person whose number is still fully on her back at that point. Here's the thing, though. LMU, they're taking some big options. They're getting those gainers. SCRAM are taking the same, but they're not able to work in that final third of the pitch. I don't think they're having much issue getting up to that final third. They're not getting as caught in the backfield anymore. They've definitely had a little chat about that, how to work through that. But how you close that final third and guarantee that goal?
It's just tricky when the field gets a bit more congested. Space is really at a premium. How can you find a way to maximize what you've got available to you? And sometimes it's to, think, sod the end zone. We'll just play it around ourselves at the back a little bit, and we'll try and get in there in a more fluid motion rather than really like we are looking at the end zone. Here is A cut. Not there. Here is B cut. Just try and get there in rhythm, I think.
We had an interesting thing playing deep space where they were counting on a zone. It was clear they were transitioning, so we just swung it until they transitioned. Sometimes you just got to swing your way to victory.
It's really, the we will transition after a number of passes thing is very interesting to me, because sometimes it's very clear that's what's going on, and as you mentioned, teams will just be like, well, fine, we'll just do this until you transition. And B, sometimes you're transitioning an opportunity where actually it's not a particularly good time to transition.
Really good attacking of the disc there to gain a few yards. Look, they're halfway up the field before LMU have set up.
Teams, I think, neglect pool plays far too frequently. Whiteley's looking downfield. There we go. It's the human hype woman herself, Hilary Humes, making her presence felt. I asked her to do something good this game. I think that just about qualifies. SCRAM still a couple of points down. 7-9 the score.
I mean, if you're standing still in the end zone, but you're aware your defender isn't, you're free. And sometimes that makes all the difference. Really beautiful vision there from Wiley to realize that option was there. And again, it's about choosing your matchups and picking your receivers, because Humes brings a fair amount of height to the table, and you're comfortable putting those discs long because you back that she's going to get the better of her opponent in the air. And Whiteley sees the option. She's getting it in rhythm, in power position. There's a couple of steps deep. It's over the defender's head, and it's always bad when you know that you're open, because if you drop it, you look like a real plum. But a little bit of a dance and a celebration there, and why the hell not? Oh, and finger guns as well. What a classy way to end the celebration.
I mean, a little bit cheesy. She's let herself down somewhat there, but at least she scored. So, it's more than I've ever done at UK Nationals.
It's overrated.
I'll take your word for it. Never turned over, though.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. True story, I had it confirmed in the booth.
I started playing UK Club Nationals in 2013, I believe, back with Dead Mix, so it's been a while.
I remember those Dead Mix teams. Dead Dog Eat Disc, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Firm battles in the southeast with Brighton among other teams as well. So with LMU still 2 points to the good, here is Marshallek. They're trying to extend that lead, get 3 points in front once more. Forward with those very expansive fakes, but it's more to kind of gesture that she wants some space opened up rather than being a purposeful moving of defenders. Here is Ford. Again, she's saying, get out of there. And that's why, hello, a little high release backhand just over the force's head. If you've got a slightly shorter mark, it's a very valid option. Unfortunately, I've experienced it many times. And they're getting a little bit of rhythm and flow in towards the red zone now. Huang looking downfield. Not a huge amount going on there. I think that's probably because there's been a stoppage. And that would explain, generally, why everyone has stopped moving.
I mean, here's the thing. LMU have a lot smaller squad than
Yes.
SCRAM. And these timeouts are going to be all important for LMU. Can you get your energy back? Don't waste energy where you don't need to, and you'd love to see it as well.
It is 2 timeouts per team per half, I believe.
Yes, indeed, I think it is.
So that means, you've got a couple of minutes just to, if a point's dragging on, you need to get some water on. As you mentioned, especially when you're running a shorter roster, I think it's 11 or 12 players that maybe 30. Hang on, I'm going to do some counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. 12. So 12. That is a very short roster. And if anyone's got a niggle, it means that you're kind of a little bit more maybe you're going to play through it, whereas perhaps if you had a lighter roster, you'd maybe sit out a game or so, because you can't afford to put more pressure on your teammates. So actually sometimes you push it, and I know what Ultimate players are like with injuries, and we are bad. We are very bad at it.
It's actually been really interesting to me this year how much back-to-back games I think are affecting teams than they have in previous year. There is a game off, game on, thankfully, for all teams this weekend. But I remember one of our cup games, we played against Cambridge. They handled Bristol fairly easily. We beat Cambridge in the wire, and then we had to play Herd. And we did not play well. We were completely gassed, and they'd had a break. All the cup games, all the National League games were 90 minutes as well. And so getting back into tournament Frisbee,
it's a totally different animal, really, isn't it? Rather than playing 1, maybe 2 games a day or a couple of games in a weekend, maybe you've got a bit more time to get comfortable. Whereas, even as you mentioned, it is, you get a break in between. They come thick and fast, and you don't get a time just to pause and take a breath. Sometimes literally. So, any opportunity you can just to take the load off ever so slightly is to be savoured.
Welcome to ULTI.TV's ASMR, where we do
relaxing
timeouts.
I think my voice is a little bit too hoarse at the moment for that, to be honest. Although, to be honest, actually, if it keeps going this way, maybe it will be unintentional ASMR, just because I cannot speak any louder. Honestly, I cannot. The multiple game format has stuffed me up a little bit more than I was expecting it to be honest. I've been used to be doing 1 game a weekend for the past few, or maybe I'll have a midweek game in my current commentary gig, which I must say I am very enjoying, and I'm very happy that they allowed me to get the weekend off this weekend so I could come and commentate on a real sport instead of football. But it's funny how just being, and there is a certain rhythm to being in a tournament. You travel down the evening before, all staying at the same hotel and stuff like that, rather than kind of coming down for the day and going back again. There is a rhythm and there is an art to it.
Excellent pressure there from SCRAM, but I think there was just a little bit of contact. We can sort of see here, LMU had the disc, and so they will retain it in front of the end zone.
Haig's been relatively quiet this game as the hooter goes, so we will finish this point and then add 1, and that will be our new cap. Just a little bit of discussion going on here.
It is one of my favorite things about Ultimate, is the winning team has to score the final point. I mean, it's kind of underrated in the way we do games, but the idea that you have to score that final point to win just adds something to it for me.
Yeah, I really do not enjoy the hard time cap at all. Oh, it's going to bounce off the hand. It was high and it was hard, and it meant that it just could not close the palm in time. So actually, this, if SCRAM could score this, their task is a lot easier. You'd much rather be 8-9 down, game to 10, than 10-7 down, game to 11, surely.
I mean, whichever is the shorter game.
And now that you've actually got that point cap in sight, maybe it does change the way that you play a little bit. Interesting to see.
We found that not everyone on field was aware, though. We are right next to a road, there are some cars, and so these people might just be playing their game, and honestly, that's sometimes for the best.
Yeah, sometimes it's good just to kind of shut out all the distractions and just focus on what your task is on field, namely getting the disc into that end zone. SCRAM swinging it around their handler set at the moment. Trim takes off deep, and you can see that LMU are wary of this now because she is being shaded deep by a good few yards. I mean, I get the feeling that she'll probably try and take off deep anyway as another hand block. It must be 3 or 4 at least this game from LMU. They just know where the spaces that SCRAM are trying to hit, and so they've got their hands in there nice and early. That one not quite as emphatic as some of the others we've seen, but it did enough to divert it out of the sideline.
I think this is the best walk away yet after the point block as well.
That was a nice little throw into space, utilising that aerial overhead there with that toss backhand and just boop, get a fingertip, have a look. Yeah,
walk away.
Just make sure that it's not coming back in bounds. No, we good here.
Yeah, this is not a team we need to tell to catch their Ds. They know if they need to follow up.
I mean, I think, yeah, they are experienced enough, and certainly they've probably had enough commentators shouting at them over the years to catch their Ds. Oh, speaking of, that would have been a spectacular effort. I mean, it still was. And this time, Trim puts enough pressure on, suckered the receiver into getting a bit too underneath the disc. It doesn't matter if you don't necessarily get a hand on it. As long as the receiver doesn't, you're all good.
She put a hook on that line and went fishing, and let me tell you, I think she got a bite. There's so close on the bid there. Now we see the long shot coming, going up high, and if she knew, she could have taken all the time in the world to be under that disc, but you never know. Especially
if you're a tall defender, you know, because people know that actually, if I'm going to beat you, I've got to get it absolutely spot on, and that time, I tried to milk it a little bit too much with the hand caught in the cookie jar. It comes out LMU's way. Here's Ford looking downfield. The IX just about still on the back of her shirt there. This one is a shot for goal. Wow, Marszalek got horizontal to try and reel it in, but it couldn't be grasped.
Yeah, that classic, not quite sure when to attack it. There's a fantastic goal on our team, Griselda Perna. She has started this year. She's got such great hands, but it's that knowledge of when to attack the disc and when to milk it a little bit. That only comes with experience, and unfortunately they're playing a team with all of it.
And also, you know, communication. You need to sometimes say, hey, you got to go, because if you try and that time you've got the call like you've got plenty of time and plenty of space, but last time it needs to be no, you need to attack it. Here we go. Here is Trim. She's got a few goals this game. Ooh. Maybe one thinking about the assist. There's a player on the floor, and
there was an attempt at not doing a call. Appears like it's still going.
Seems so. We're now just going to play as if nothing ever happened, which is perfectly fine. Continuation with the break into the end zone. It's going to stick into the hands of Estelle Fuller, who's had a very good game for SCRAM. And so that'll be the cap. It is 8-9. London Masters 1 point ahead. Game to 10. So if SCRAM could sneak a score here, we'd have back-to-back Universe points games at UKU Nationals. You love to see it. Of course, unless, of course, you're from LMU, it will be doing their darndest to make sure that they can put this in and get themselves a nice spot in the semi-finals tomorrow. Pat on the back for a good day, well done, because of course the winner of this game will go into the semi-finals. They will play the winner of the other pool, which is going to be decided by the Iceni versus Sick game that has been going on in the same time slot. I will see if I can get you a score update on that.
So Bristol looking to top this group, and in the other group we have
no results in as yet, but that will be between Iceni and Sick. Bristol women have finished, and they have sewn up the pool, dispatched Reading for to go 3-0 on the day. Nice. So they Bristol dispatched SCRAM 12-4. They've just beat Reading 15-1, as there is a very small person toddling around the outside of the pitch. And they had a tight one against LMU, 12-9. You wonder how much that perhaps has taken out of what is a very small roster. We shall see. We shall see, of course. I don't know if they've got any reinforcements coming in tomorrow, but the fact that actually tomorrow they've only got 2 games rather than the 3, perhaps, you know, will not necessarily play. Oh, it might play in their favour, because you're getting players who are getting regular pitch time, and when you're playing well, that's what you want. You want to keep going out there, because you just don't really seem to feel that fatigue in the same way.
LMU looking to close out the game now. Side stack, all the space, goes long.
I think they were thinking about trying to get it into the end zone. Very good adjustment for the second effort grab. Here's Haig on the doorstep of a semi-final berth. And she's going to do the boring but sensible thing. Dish it off. Thompson for the front cone.
Oh!
And that is LMU in the finals. I don't think she was happy about maybe the contact on the bid. She apologised for the spike towards the player, as LMU will seal their semi-final berth. They see off SCRAM 10-8 in the end. Wow, a little bit of, maybe slight bit of needle there.
And a little bit of a cameo from Cy Hill as well, CEO of UK Ultimate. Never going to apologise for him being on camera.
What a hero. So we're going to see it here again, hopefully on the replay as the teams go through and slap hands for a good game, well played. It's the semi-finals tomorrow for LMU. SCRAM will try and finish the weekend in 5th in that 5 to 8 bracket. Seeing it, tipped, and immediately it was, where's the disc? How can I keep this alive? Haig being cautious, goes for the reset. The option to the front cone. Thompson, the disc's a bit behind, and I think the player kind of falls as she lands, gives it a little bit into Thompson, who kind of the instinct, the adrenaline. Sometimes this happens, especially when you get a bit of contact. Go for the spike, the kind of thumber-style spike. There was a player right there for SCRAM. In the end, the apologies were made and a bit of slap of hands, and now they're just going to have a little bit of a debrief and a spirit circle. Good to see that spirits still seem to be high, but they've got about just over 5 minutes to have this. No, hang on. Yeah, they've just got over 10 minutes, in fact, because our last game today begins at 5 to 5, 4:55 local time. We have another Scottish team, Alba, in the Open Division, are taking on Bristol. In the meantime, Harry, just a kind of closing summary of the game, if you please.
I loved it. I love to get to see these teams, and I love to just get a chance to hang out with you and break it down, because it is so good to see LMU a little bit more poaching, a little bit more intelligent play, and those small individual moments of athletic brilliance, where SCRAM, the younger team, I think a little bit more overall trying to run, but not quite as directed as it will be in a couple of years when they get that experience as well. It was a tough game for them to come out of. I think this was definitely one to watch in the group, and SCRAM so close again. I want to see them coming back. I want to see them working hard, because there's so much potential in all of those players. And I think, a little shout out for Katie Trim. I think she was fantastic today, and I think worth a little bit of a mention. Yeah,
I've been playing only 2 years. First nationals, looked very much like she was built for the stage, to be honest. And I'm looking forward to SCRAM's results in the bottom half of the women's division tomorrow. That's that SCRAM versus Spice matchup. Could be very heated. I'm looking forward to it immensely. As for LMU, we'll see them in the semi-finals tomorrow. But as to who they're playing, I'm just going to see if the pool results have come in. It'll be Iceni after they, really thumped Sick 15-6 in the end. So LMU will be playing Iceni tomorrow in the semi-finals. The other semi-final will be Sick versus Bristol. We're going to take a short break here, get the crew some water and a little bit of food on board as well. Thank you to everyone for watching, and thank you to all of our patrons as well. If you've enjoyed the coverage, then kind of share it around, and any support that you can offer is greatly appreciated, be that monetary or otherwise. More details you can find at ULTI.TV. Thank you very much for watching. For Harry Mason, I've been Benjamin Rees. I'm going to go and desperately try and scram some lozenges from somewhere. We'll see you in just over 5 minutes' time for our last game of the day, Alba versus Bristol. Until then, we'll see you on the other side.
ULTI.TV.